in May of 1985 in Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio in particular, we were put on alert by Skywarn. There was a storm headed toward Cleveland coming into the area. Skywarn was activated, and they said by 3 o'clock, all hell's going to break loose. So 3 o'clock, all hell broke loose. It was amazing. It was almost like to the minute. 3 o'clock, we started getting heavy winds, heavy rain, hail, and Skywarn was extremely active, talking about what they were seeing on the air, what kind of weather conditions were going through Ohio. Just south of Ohio, a tornado went through Warren and Youngstown, Ohio, and just to the east of Cleveland, it went through eastern Ohio and into western PA. So there were 2 tornadoes that day. I had just gotten my mobile radio, since I had just gotten my license. And that evening, after the tornado went through, I mean, there was a lot of activity. They said, don't bother to come down to Youngstown and try and help, because it's going to be sunset soon. There's that much we can do. But the following morning, they were calling for help. They were calling for hams to come down and assist them with shelters, with the Red Cross. This is my wife calling. I think I'm in trouble. Normally we go to dinner, but I normally take her through the drive-through. So to make up for it, I was going to take her inside and let her sit inside this time. So.
Still there?
I didn't answer. So. But anyway, they were calling for people to come down and assist. And that next day, I went down and helped out with the Red Cross and other activities that were going on, and that's when I got hooked on public service. I mean, I really enjoyed it. The people in the area really appreciated the fact that ham radio was willing to come down and assist them during their time of need. So ever since then, I've been involved with public service. The reason I'm doing this presentation tonight is because I was voluntold to do this. And he says I volunteered. I don't think I did, but I'm here and I'm willing to do this.
Military style, you volunteered?
Yes, exactly, and that was his job to do that. There's 2 types of public service. One is emergency communications, and the other is practice communications. I'm going to touch briefly about the emergency part of it, which is the RACES ARES part of it, and I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail with that. But the reason we do these other public service events is just for the practice. I mean, practice of net control and doing other network-related activities to try and communicate to each other out in the field. As you know, amateur radio has had a long history of public service, primarily with emergency communications. When all else fails, we're out there. We're out there with our generators. We're out there with our cars. We're willing to go just about any place to assist an emergency situation. Wrong way. I'm trying something new tonight. I'm using my iPad up here with my iPhone as a remote control for this thing. And this is the first time I tried this, but it's working pretty good so far. As you know, we do a lot of local communications with in this particular area with Monroe County. We're very active with the county. The county is very supportive of amateur radio. And they assist us a great deal with not only supporting them, but they also help us with sometimes getting equipment to support some of our activities as well. If you look at the rules, 97.1, the Federal Communications Commission says one of our primary purposes for existence is public service. It's the very first section of 97.1. So they expect us to go out and do public service related activities, whether it's emergency related or non-emergency related activities. That's how we justify these frequencies. That's how we justify our use of the frequencies and our licenses. So I would encourage anybody who has the time and wants to participate in some of these public services to please come out and help us. One of the biggest problems we have is that we don't have enough people. We have a lot of public service events that we try and support every year, and we just don't have enough people supporting them all. So based on what my conversation was with the board when I did meet with them, we're going to, if we don't get the support, we're probably going to end up cutting back on some of our public service activities. We just don't have the manpower to do it. Why practice? I mean, one of the things I'm surprised are, I listen to the numbers of the people graduating from the classes, the novice classes, the tech classes. Where are they? They don't come to the public service events. I look around the room, I see a lot of people who have been very loyal to public service, but where are the new licensees? What do they do with their licenses once they get them? I mean, I suspect they're all going into the witness protection program because they just disappear. Where are they? Obviously, one of the benefits of practicing is that you learn net protocol. I mean, most of the public service events that we do have a net control. We try to do and follow standard net protocol when we do these public service events. Some of the smaller events are a little bit more relaxed than some of the formal ones like the Tour de Cure or the Rochester Marathon, but we do try and follow net protocol. Yes?
Chevy Prism, gray, ending 4 numbers 3580. We need you to move your car. You will have to leave, please.
One thing I would like to encourage anybody while I'm talking is to, if you have questions, feel free to stop me and ask questions. I'm more than willing to stop and answer any questions that may come along. One of the other things that I learned by going out on public service is that each public service event may be slightly different. Some of these new radios are small, compact. What do you do if they ask you to change frequency? What do you do when they ask you to change PL? How familiar are you with your radio? Do you carry your manual with you? If you run into a situation where you don't know what to do, there's these little handy-dandy nifty guides for radios. It's a summary of your manual that you can take with you. It's a lot easier to carry the complete manual, but it has just about everything the manual has, and in a summary format. I keep a copy of my manual in my iPad, so I do take that with me normally when I'm going out on public service. Again, if you're in a situation and you're out someplace, they ask you to change frequency because the frequency went down, the repeater went down, or you're in an area, if you're being called to assist by the Red Cross, they may ask you to change to a different frequency for that particular area that you're in, just to relieve some of the other traffic on some of the other frequencies. So being able to change frequencies, change PL, change whatever conditions are on your radio is very handy. Last meeting I was here, they were handing out some of the new Chinese radios to some of the new licensees. All the radios are programmed with a computer. Is that convenient to do in the field? Some of the Chinese radios I've seen don't even have buttons on the front. So how do you make changes to it once you're out in the field?
If it ain't in there, it's not going to.
Yeah, exactly.
You can do it very well.
You can?
If you do it with Chinese, yeah.
One of the other benefits of doing public service is that we promote amateur radio to people who are not familiar with the hobby. I mean, when you're out on a Tour de Cure or you're Walnut Hills, it's amazing how many people come up to you, seeing you with your radio, saying, thank you very much for helping support this event. And they know we're out there. They really appreciate the fact that we're there helping them. If a SAG vehicle comes along and a guy has a flat tire or is unable to repair his bike, we can transport him to the nearest rest stop, and they really appreciate the fact that we're there and helping them out. So it helps to promote the hobby to other people. All amateurs are welcome. Like I said, I don't see too many new hams coming to these public service events, and I don't know what they're doing with their licenses. They get them, they get a radio, put them in a drawer, and disappear. So that's not a good sign for me. It doesn't look good for the hobby if people are joining and getting their licenses, but never using them. One of the other benefits of doing public service is that you earn rah-rah points. You get credit, I think it's 5 points for a half a day, 10 points for a full day. If you're a captain for one of the events, I think you get 50 points. but it's a way of paying for your dues or buying rah-rah wear at the company store. So, okay. Go kits. Go kit is something you can grab and run out to the field with without having to muss and fuss with trying to find your equipment. I brought a couple of examples here that I use. Personally, I like stuff that's in smaller packages versus throwing everything into a big box and trying to carry it around. I'm an old guy. I don't want to carry a lot of heavy stuff with me, so I take what I need. I've got it subdivided up. This is everything from my HTs, chargers, cases, whatever I need for my HT is in that one case. I have a case for cables that I've made up with the power pole connectors on them. And this is just an example of one radio that I put in a case. This case is available online from a company called Tactical Radio Carrier. And it's expandable. I mean, it doubles in size. You can actually put a power supply in here if you wanted to. I've seen them mount it with a power supply in it. And that allows you to take it out in the field or put it in the car. Personally, I don't keep any radios permanently mounted in my car because there's no space to mount a radio in there. So when I need it, I just put it in the seat next to me and plug it into the battery, and it works fine. I do keep the antennas permanently mounted to the car, but the radio's not in there. Okay. Some of the modes we use during public service is just about all the modes that we, as amateurs, have. Obviously, UHF, voice, digital. Some of the biggest digital modes that we use primarily are APRS and NIMBIMS, which is a newer mode for digital. It's narrowband emergency messaging system is what that stands for. And we use computers to basically send text messages or email messages to one another using our computers. Some of the county drills or state communications to Albany, and obviously if there's a large enough disaster, worldwide communication would be used as well. Amateur TV has been used by the county on several of the drills too, to basically send the camera out to see and provide it back to the EOC to allow them to see what's going on out in the field. Okay? So there's a lot of things we can do, a lot of activities that people can get involved with. If you have an interest in one particular mode or another, public service, I'm sure there's something in public service that allows you to participate. The events that we currently support are this. Tour de Cure was the biggest, is the biggest that we have every year. It's typically the first weekend in June. It may change a little bit next year. I guess they're a little bit concerned that the dates may interfere with the Rochester Hamfest. So they need our support. They want our support. They're willing to change their date so it doesn't interfere with our Hamfest because they need hams. We'll talk about that in detail also. The second one is
I think we had like 40 or 41 hams this year.
And we were lucky because they canceled the 100-mile route because of the rain. We wouldn't have had enough if they had kept the 100-mile course open. Genesee Valley Horse Trials is a horse event. Well, again, we'll talk about that later. Amos Bike Tour. Anyway, we have 11 of them total for the year. And again, we don't have enough volunteers to support all of these. So some of these are going to disappear. And if you notice this one here, the AIDS Rochester Ride, I talked to one of the organizers. They have eliminated that Sunday event, so that one will probably drop off our list for next year. Okay? It's there now because it was originally scheduled. American Diabetes Tour de Cure. It's a bicycle event. It covers a total of 5 routes, 100-mile route, 62 and a half, 40, 25, and 15. It's an all-day event. It starts at about 6:30 in the morning, and it goes basically all day. Now we say 40 amateurs, but I think 50 is probably a better number if we really want to cover the course correctly. Okay? This year, they had over 2,000 registered riders. Because of the rain and some of the other problems with the weather, I don't think they had 2,000, but slightly under that. Okay? But they did manage to raise almost $800,000 for that one event. Okay? We use mobile radios, we use HTs, and definitely use APRS. We have SAG vehicles out there supporting the cyclists on the various courses. If there's a problem, we stop. We try and help them in some way or some form. If we're unable to help them, we transport them to the nearest rest stop. One of the other problems, you get a lot of people who think they're going to ride the 100-mile course, have never ridden more than 5 miles in their life. By the time they get to the 50-mile point, then they realize that they're in trouble. So we end up bringing them back to the start-finish point. But again, I will emphasize the fact that these people really need our help. I mean, they cannot run this event without volunteers from the amateur radio community. Okay?
Can I say something?
Definitely.
And that's the control room, or the net control for tour this year. But probably, you heard Bill earlier say that I've got about 19 years of doing tour. And probably the only person that I know that's done it more years than me is right up in front of you. Well, two people, Joe and N2UEE, his significant other. I think they've been doing it more years than I have been involved. So.
Yeah, I think I've done them all except for one, but I've lost count. So it's somewhere in the 20-something range. Thanks to Jim Stefano, we had a new command center this year because it, again, was expanding beyond what we can control. Let's put it like this. When I first started with the Tour de Cure, there were only a couple hundred riders on the course. Obviously, we're up to 2,000 riders, and how do you support 2,000 riders and be able to respond to those guys out wherever they may be on the course? They were all giving a name tag with an 800 number. If they ran into any difficulty, they called the people on the right-hand side of the table. They took the call, transferred it to the people on the left side of the table, and they radioed out to either a SAG vehicle or to a rest stop to try and get that person assistance. Okay? It worked extremely well. The other impressive part of this is this whole room up in the back on the screen was APRS, so they knew where the vehicles were. So they knew approximately how far they were from the riders. That room was also linked to the Aries trailer with a microwave link, and in the trailer was the transmitters for everything that was going on in that room. So the phones were voice over IP to the internet. So it was something that we had never done before, and with Jim Stefano and the IRIT guys, it went smooth. I mean, it was flawless. I was out in the field. I was at one of the rest stops. They say they had problems. I was unaware of them. So it worked very well. Again, multiple repeaters we had for the course, for the 5 courses. It covered such a large area, we couldn't do it all with one repeater. So they actually had the frequencies divided up. The SAG vehicles was on one set of frequencies, the rest stops on another set of frequencies, and they were totally independent of each other. Okay. APRS for the SAGs, voice over IP phones were in the control room, and a microwave link to the Aries trailer. And here are all the guys who volunteered that day. Again, it was a long day, long, hot day, and I'm sure you recognize a lot of names. Some of them are in the room, at least they were. But they're greatly appreciated. And that's my wife down there who isn't here and who tried to call me earlier. Genesee Valley Horse Trials. It's a cross-country horsing event. They jump several obstacles along the course, and I don't know if you've heard of Stewart Horse Trials. It's a smaller version of that. Some of these participants are actually Olympic quality horsemen, I guess you would call them. And this is just training for the horses, not necessarily for the riders, but for the horses. Okay?
Didn't the Stewart horse trials have to be canceled this year because of the rain or something?
Yeah, and so was this. This Genesee Valley Horse Trials was canceled for the same reason. The field was too muddy and too wet. There was a risk that the horse would slip, fall, and injure the horse and the rider as well. So both events were canceled this year. Okay. It will be scheduled for next year. It normally is the first weekend after the 4th of July. I think the 4th of July is on a weekend, so they're going to reschedule it for the weekend before the 4th of July for next year. It's in Geneseo. It's an all-day event. We need, I would say, actually, about 20 hams would be a perfect number to cover all the jumps that are on the course. HT covers the entire course, so it's a perfect event for new licensees. It isn't necessary if you we do have net control. We do try and follow some sort of net control protocol, but it's great for somebody who's never done public service before. You know, we come out, it's just a group of us, friendly people, talking to the net control to keep track of scores for the participants in the event. And one of the nice things is that they treat us very well. They give us a little breakfast, a little continental breakfast in the morning. They feed us lunch while we're out doing the event during the day. And when the event's over with, they provide us with a meal afterwards, typically pizza, wings, or whatever, with wine and beer. So you can drink and drive home, I guess. But I mean, they treat us very well. They're very friendly people. And the reason we've only done this, I think this is the third year, would have been the third year. The only reason we're doing this is because we have done such a good job at the other horsing event, Walnut Hills, that they've asked us to participate in this. And the reason they asked us to do this was because all they used was the family radios before. The judges used the family radios, and they had no idea what radio protocol was. So they're talking on top of each other. The batteries are dying. They were having all kind of communications issues trying to score these participants. As a result, at the end of the day, they ended up staying 2 or 3 hours after the event was over with trying to get the scores up to date. With our help, they keep everything current. It's online, live, because of our help. And at the end of the day, everybody's done. The MS Bike Tour is another, similar to the Tour de Cure, just on a much smaller scale. The problem we have with that, it's located in Keokuk Park, New York. They need about 30 hams, and they cover 3 courses. Unfortunately, we only had 3 to cover that course. It's a 2-day event. It's Saturday and Sunday, and we only had 3 people to help them. It's in Keokuk Park. My recommendation would be if people don't want to travel from Rochester to Keokuk Park, maybe we ought to go to the clubs in those areas to get more assistance, because right now I just don't see us continuing to support this type of event if we're only going to get 3 volunteers.
Did the local area group down there take control again this year then?
No. They did. Yeah, they passed
The
up.
last 2 years then?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just, when that used to be in Mendon Ponds Park, when I first got my license, that was a great event.
Yeah.
And since they moved it down to the middle of nowhere, they've lost a lot of participation in the ham community.
And they've done that every year. It may not be our fault that we're not willing to spend gas money to travel to Keokuk Park to support that event, especially if you're going to drive 100 miles once you get there to support the participants on the course as well. So yeah, it is a logistics problem for us to get there and support that event, which is why it may be better for the local club to try and support it. But unfortunately, they have moved. I mean, they have moved in some years. One year they were here. They went from Rochester to Darien Lake and back here again. It caused the same problem because it wasn't local. It was still a Darien Lake activity. Okay. Walnut Hills. Jack Tripp and I have kind of co-chaired this for the last several years. I don't know how many years it's been, but this is one of the, to me, it's one of the least known, very classy, very good events. I mean, they treat us royally at this event. As you can see here, they drive these little old antique carriages around, in some cases through the woods, through obstacle courses and so forth. And this happens to be an early beta version of a 4-horsepower SUV. So that's,
You can still pick up women.
yeah, you can still pick up women with them, yeah. Here's another carriage, and what we cover primarily is the cross-country part of the course. I mean, they do other competitions within the arena that's around the farm, but we're out in the field, we're in the woods, we're watching these guys go through the woods, and those two obstacles there, the ones with the red balls on top, that's what they're trying to maneuver through. If they knock the red ball off, it's a fault, and they get dinged as a result. Yes?
You left out the parade on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm getting to that. So we're there for various days. It starts on a Wednesday and it ends on a Saturday as far as the cross country is concerned. But then on Sunday, there's another event that they do. It's called the parade. It's what they call a pleasure drive. It goes through Mendon Ponds Park. And as you can see, there are people lined up on both sides of the road. Now, this is an annual event. People come from I don't know how far to just watch these carriages go by. And it's wonderful. I mean, they come with their families. They sit there with picnic baskets. They're drinking. I'm assuming it's early morning, so they're not drinking anything real heavy. But it's a very nice event. And the people are very pleasant. They taking pictures. They're saying hello, good morning, as they drive their carriages by. Okay? It's a very nice event for the family. Again, anybody who hasn't or who just got their license and wants to participate in this is a great one. It's all simplex, no repeaters involved except for Sunday. We do use the repeater on Sunday just because of the distance that we're trying to cover. But during the week, during the cross country, it's all simplex. So there's no need to be afraid to get on the air. These are the people who volunteered this year, who assisted. Again, it's from Wednesday through Saturday for the cross country, and again, the pleasure drive on Sunday. So not all these people worked every day, but again, I would encourage you to come out and participate if you can afford the time, okay? Again, we use about 10 hams per day. Lunch is provided every day. It's generally a buffet lunch, and a very nice buffet lunch, I should say. It's not just mediocre. It's very nice. And so and it's all free for us. They give us extra tickets to pass out to our family if we want to bring guests. If we want extra tickets, Jack and I typically can have access to additional tickets. If you want to bring people to not only the farm, and the Sunday drive is free. There's no charge for that at all. But during the week, we can get tickets to have you come to the farm. Okay. Cystic fibrosis, Cycle for Life, another cycling event that is in Geneseo. It is an all-day event again. We need about 20 hams typically to cover the course that they want to cover. And again, we only have 4 people. It's in Geneseo. Yes, a little bit of a drive from Rochester, but it's kind of embarrassing to try and say we're going to support these events and we only have 4 people to volunteer. Rochester's 8th ride is the one I said earlier. They've changed their requirements, so this one will be dropped from our list of events for next year and probably from this point forward. So I just threw it up there just for the heck of it. Watch out for this big dog if you should happen to see him anywhere. This is the Barktoberfest. It's 2 events in one. They do a 5-mile run in the morning, and in the afternoon they do a walk with all the dogs. Everybody who registers for this event brings a dog. So they got hundreds of dogs out there running, well, not necessarily running around, but they're on a leash, and they walk these dogs through the park. There's a wooded area behind the farm, and as amateur radios, we do the 5-mile race in the morning to support the runners that are out there to make sure everyone is okay. And in the afternoon, we walk along with the dogs and the participants to make sure that the dogs don't get overheated or get into problems, as well as the two-legged people who are with the dogs. So it's another fun event. It is an all-day event. We need about 12 hams to participate in that, and we've been pretty successful in getting hams to participate in that event. But again, if we're stretching thin trying to support all these events, there's a possibility the Barktoberfest may go away. I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying that it might happen. Rochester Marathon, another large event that we do every year. It's not only amateur radio that supports this, the county supports it with their mobile equipment. The police support it, so it's a large enough event where you have a lot of participation. Typically, we've been pretty good at getting volunteers for this. We need about 20, 25 hams to support this. It does start early, about 6 in the morning, and it goes about mid-afternoon, okay? But it's another fun event. Amateur radio's out there, it's visible, they see us, they thank us, they really appreciate the fact that we're out there helping them out. And obviously, it's the same thing I mentioned earlier about the Tour de Cure. People think they can run a marathon who've never run more than 5 miles. And they get out and get in trouble. Yes, there are some team competitions where there are relays. They run to a point, relay off to another person, and continue on with the marathon. But there are people out there who, especially if it's a hot day, hot, muggy day, you'll see a lot of people having difficulties. And in past years, we've called for ambulance to transport people away. So amateur radio does play a very important role to provide safety, health, and welfare for the riders and runners that are out there. Another quiet, well unknown event is the Fairport Lift Bridge Regatta. It's basically a rowing event that happens every year. Doesn't require many hams. Another excellent event for people who are new to the hobby, all simplex operation. And it's a very enjoyable, pleasant day by the canal in Fairport. September 2nd, they changed the date slightly this year because it was on the same day as the MCOM East. They ran into a conflict with some sort of scheduling, so they changed the date to September 2nd. I think that's correct. Anyway, it did change. It's an all-day event, and they do feed us and treat us well during the day. So once you're in the boat, once you're out there with the participants, they feed you, they give you water, they give you what you need to, so you don't pass out while you're out there. Yeah, I think that date is wrong.
No, that date's wrong, Joe.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened yet.
Yep, it hasn't happened. It's coming up here soon, but it's not yet. Jamboree on the Air, which was talked about earlier. I don't know if, Bill, you want to say a little bit more about Jamboree, or?
Yeah, it's a real fun event. People can be here locally in Rochester on repeaters or whatever, talking to people. They can come down and operate with the boys at Babcock Hubby. Sign-up sheet here, if you think while you're working the New York QSO party, you want to make some contacts with the kids, we're very happy to do that. So it's a lot of fun. Typically, yeah, like you have about 10 hams there, 10 hams and scouts, and it's a lot of fun. We enjoy it. Get out in the woods, enjoy a little bit of the nice weather. It's always nice.
How many days is it?
We're doing it Saturday, and I guess even, is Steve still here, a little bit of Friday afternoon and Saturday?
I stay overnight Friday and it's,
Okay. Do we do a cookout? No, no. He was a bit.
Somebody goes up there and says, yeah, do they have a cookout or anything?
Well, a lot of the kids are cooking food, so you act young. You sneak in.
I always bring my own, then I don't have to worry about it.
Okay. Pumpkin Patrol.
Yeah, last but not least.
This is a fun event every year, and Brad has been great at organizing this year after year. I have normally participated. I'm not sure I'm going to participate this year. I haven't told you that, but I'm not sure I'm going to participate this year, but it's a very nice event again. It's really a races event. Since the New York State Police are involved, it becomes a races event as a result. So it's the Halloween Eve and Halloween night along the bridges along the Thruway. Typically it's from 7 until about midnight, give or take a half hour or so. And as Brad said, there's never been any activities as far as we know, and the police have said they have not had any activities since we've been monitoring the bridges. Prior to having pumpkin patrol, apparently there were some people who had issues and decided to throw pumpkins off the bridges at the traffic under the Thruway. And as a result, some people were injured as a result of that. So not only is it here in Rochester, it's all along the Thruway, from, I believe, from Albany all the way over to
Yeah, Albany all the way up to
Pennsylvania.
Buffalo area.
Buffalo, okay. There was something else.
Do any bridges in Wayne County from here?
Not from this area, no.
No, we're,
Drumlin's does Wayne County. Yeah.
as a result of this, the New York State Police, I mean, they will come by and thank you personally with your car. I mean, first time that happened to me, it was kind of scary. Yeah, I wasn't sure why this guy, he wasn't a small guy either, was coming to me walking across the bridge. I wasn't sure whether he was a policeman or who he was or what he was doing. But he was so big when he got to me, he wanted to shake my hand and thank me for participating in this. His hand was so big, when I shook his hand, my hand disappeared inside of his. I've never seen a hand that big before.
There's a little bit more I just want to add.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we've, a little brainstorm of mine about 4 or 5 years ago was to provide a goodie patrol. You're out there in the dark, sitting there on the edge of the road, and believe me, it's not boring. You can do whatever you want to do, but you know, the thing is, it is kind of lonely out there. So either if you have somebody with you, that's fine, but if you don't, then you're by yourself. So what we do is we have what they call a goodie patrol. In goodie patrol, we meet over at the Tops and we purchase cider and apples and hot chocolate and maybe coffee for one or two, whoever wants that. Hot chocolate is usually the one everybody wants. And we take them out and we split it up into 3 areas, Henrietta, East, and then West. And we hit them twice, coming back, little conversation, little cider. We don't try to stay away from donuts, but we do give them candy. And so we have all that stuff. That's the fun part. That's the fun part, and that kind of keeps, and I think that's what keeps, probably one of the things that keeps the people coming back. But like I say, we're 50% there already, and it's only the first week of October or September. So we have, it's not going to be a hard time to get this done. So please, if you're interested in doing anything like this, give it a shot. We'll put you on goodie patrol. That's a fun one. That's, you know, you don't have to sit out there, but you know, you get a chance to do that. But you know, in case somebody has to go, you know, leave, you know, they need to get a break or whatever. That's what we do. So just to let you know, that's what's going on. Let's try to fill it up.
Yeah, typically every year, at least in most years that I've participated in it, one of the TV stations has come out because they've heard that we're out there on the bridges monitoring what's going on, and they have interviewed, I believe Roger was interviewed
Roger had one last
Yeah.
2 years ago, last year or 2 years ago, I forget.
Yeah,
They usually go to his bridge for some reason.
I think it's
And I
right.
was in there as well.
Okay. Yes.
One of the things I like to go out on it because it gets me out of the house unless my wife take care of the trick-or-treaters.
Yes.
There's nothing as unnerving as receiving, like a few months later, this nice big envelope stamped with the New York State Police on it. Yeah. Opening it, trying to like figure out what you've done wrong, and it's It's a very nice certificate.
Yes, they do. They send out certificates to everybody who participates. And it's really nice. It's an 8x10 certificate that you can frame and mount to the wall. So, yeah, I agree with you. Getting that letter in the mail from the New York State Police is not necessarily something you want to anxiously open up first thing. The Goodie Patrol is also very nice. I mean, they really come around several times. One of the things that you don't have to worry about, obviously you're out there for a number of hours on the bridge. They do have NEC protocol. They do check with you at least every half hour to make sure you're okay. You haven't fallen asleep. Your battery hasn't died because you've been out there for so many hours. So they do keep active. And there's other repeaters that sometimes the guys use too to talk to each other from the different bridges. So it's a nice activity. And if you're interested in any of these, again, we want to encourage you to sign up and register for any of these events. They're all listed on the Rochester RARA website under public service. And it really helps us a lot if you can register in advance to let us know. We want to get a head count of how many people are going to participate, how many people are volunteering. It helps Brad, it helps me, Jack, plan for how many people we have available. And it's nothing more unnerving to see we need 20 and we only have 4. So we have to start making phone calls to try and get other people to participate.
The guys in Genesee County, they have hardly anybody to do it, and they're asking if I ever come up with any extra bodies, and we haven't. So Genesee County goes right after Beulah, starts at 19, and there's 8 more bridges that they are responsible for. So if we have extra people, I'll dispatch them out to there. You know, you live out that way, we can put you out that way and give them a hand.
So please register. Please consider participating in some of these public service events. And yep.
One more event that didn't make the RARA calendar, but there's a poster over here, and unfortunately it's the same day as JODA, but it's the Walk for Diabetes. We only need probably half a dozen people would more than cover it, and it's a Saturday, October 19th in Genesee Valley Park. So if you're interested, either sign up on the website or drop me an email, kb2soz@arrl.net.
Okay. Any questions? Yes.
If somebody has signed up, let's say in June or July, and their event is in September, will they be getting an email to confirm that, yes, we got your request to be part of whatever activity it is?
Yes. I get a copy of everybody who registers, regardless of the event that they register for, and I try to acknowledge each one of those emails that I get. So I try to contact each individual volunteer to say, okay, I got your message. I know, thank you for volunteering, and these are the events that you volunteered for. In addition to that, there's event captains like Brad here or Jack who will take responsibility for the event itself, and they will also contact each of the volunteers. I will send the volunteer list to them. They in turn will contact you to let you know that everything is on schedule. We're going to meet here. If there's a planning meeting beforehand, they'll let you know that.
So if you don't hear anything a week or two before, you should be concerned? Or is that...
Yeah, if you don't hear anything a week or two before, you can either send me an email or do something to contact one of the board members here.
The captains of the different events to the website. You can do that.
Yes, I can do that. Okay. Question?
What about people that don't have any mobile gear or don't have any handhelds?
Go get your numbers. Just ask, we'll come up with something.
Yeah, and
Equipment around?
Huh?
yeah,
Somebody will loan you something.
yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, for the Tour de Cure, we had radios available for people who wanted to borrow radios.
The antenna that got one tonight, that's going into the collection of stuff that goes to the tour and gets loaned out. So, for any event, not just tour, talk to your event captain and we'll get you equipment.
Hey,
You can make a comment. On that website, you can probably make a comment when you apply for this event, and just make a note that, you might need to borrow a 2-meter antenna or something, or
Right.
borrow a handheld, or...
Yeah, what I...
Go with the plan.
Right. What we may do is add something there to the list to say, what kind of equipment do you have, for example, to let us know that, because in some cases, like on the Tour de Cure, you're away out in, like in my case, I've been at Avon for the last few years. Repeater coverage in that area is not very good. So a handheld may not work for you there. What I do in that particular case, I use a handheld and crossband repeat through my car, which gets me into the repeater pretty good. So in some cases, if we know that you only have an HT, we'll have to try and get you in a location that gives you pretty good coverage for that, for the equipment that you have. So.
As an HT, I put them in Henrietta.
Right, correct. Okay. Yes.
How are we for the next two events in terms of volunteers for Oktoberfest and also for the Rochester Marathon? Are we approaching a sufficient number of people, or are we hurting?
And luckily, in both of those cases, we have a pretty good rate of registration at this point.
We could use more, though.
But we could use more.
All right, sir. Thank you.
So.
So I'm one of these new hams that disappears on you.
Oh, you're coming out of the witness protection program now, are you?
Briefly surfaced. So is there like event-specific training? I mean, I've never done this before, so how do I get? Come on down.
Come on, yes, come down. We'll train you. Yeah. It's
For the tour, we hold a training session a couple of weeks in
Right.
advance, a week and a half in advance.
Okay.
With some of the smaller events, it's just a matter of you showing, first register, let us know that you're going to come, and just show up. It doesn't take long. It's push to talk, and
Yeah. Okay.
Can you say, yeah, Tim, we're okay? Every half hour? Gotta make it.
Fully trained professional.
yes.
I'll make a comment, Joe. You comment on the New Hampshire stuff. When I got my license in 2006, I think the first event I did was a Tour de Cure. And I think for any new ham that wants to be active in the hobby and meet some really nice ham operators in this community, public service is the way to do it. You get a lot of one-on-one FaceTime with a lot of good operators,
Right.
willing to help you. And you meet so many people through these public service events. And I just challenge everybody, you got to do at least one a year. Just one. Head there, pick one, and have fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's right. If you want to pick just one event, I'm almost guaranteeing that if you do one, you want to do some others, because it's really an enjoyable experience to sit there and operate your radios.
One thing that new hams will learn if they listen to the event as it goes along.
Yes.
If they don't participate, they'll understand how it goes.
Yes.
And another thing, if you have extras, you can put one with an experienced operator.
Right.
And let them work it out like that. That works. You can learn an awful lot by listening to the radio and listening to nets and stuff like that.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. We've had a number of husband and wife teams, I don't want to point at anybody, who have operated together, not separately, and just for reasons of security, not knowing exactly what the procedures are. We've got, for the Barktoberfest, we've got a family of 4 coming. 2 are new licensees, 2 are, one is an old guy like me who's been around forever, but he's bringing his kids who have just gotten their licenses. So it's a great family activity. I mean, so if you get your sons and daughters to come out just to be with you while you're operating, they may enjoy the Walnut Hills, for example, or they would enjoy some of the other events that are out there, just to see what's going on with some of these public service events.
Not a pumpkin patrol.
No, the young kids on pumpkin patrol is not a good idea. So, get bored quick. Any other questions? Yes.
Are all your radios going to be required to use the repeaters? Because I have older equipment and my radio is not set up for these tone access.
There are a number of events that are simplex only.
Okay.
Walnut Hills is that way. The Genesee Valley Horse Trials is that way. Barktoberfest is
I have a multi-mode.
Okay.
That's rather heavy.
Okay.
We can get you a loaner. Don't let that stop you. Trust me.
Yeah. We'll figure out something.
If it's an FM radio for a ham radio, it's got to have offsets in it somewhere.
Yeah, the standard or
600. No, you
yeah,
got
the
to
146.
Well, sometimes you just put both frequencies in is what you do.
Yeah, for Walnut,
Doesn't have any PL in the radio.
I don't have any PLs. I
It's all
got a
right.
TS
On 8A, you don't
700.
need it, but go ahead.
yeah, in case of Walnut Hills, we operate 146.58 all day,
Simplex.
simplex. Okay. Any other questions? I think that's it. Thank you very much.